dignitaries on the dais, delegates, and esteemed members. I'm greatly honored and delighted to be at this session on opportunities and challenges, who helps, real or created, at this two-day event of India M2M and IoT Forum 2015 conference organized by the M2Mpaper.com, a part of Origin Business Services. The theme of the conference is relevant in the context of the flagship programs of the government on Digital India and the smart cities, and its consequent ICT impact on A, e-infrastructure, on the B, e-governance and services on demand, and C, on the e-empowerment of citizens. The M2M refers to technologies that allow both wireless and wired systems to communicate with other devices of the same type. M2M communications is one of the most important components in a rapidly growing area with the potential to significantly affect the mobile telecom network, which has crossed over 900 million mobile phones in the country. And as the smartphones are now growing rapidly in availability and popularity, the applications which run on these devices are becoming both numerous and popular, especially in the context of M2M. M2M is now considered as an integral part of the IoT, which is the Internet of Things, and it will bring several benefits to both industry, government, and business. It has huge impacts on the industrial automation, the smart grids, smart cities, health sector, defense, and mostly for monitoring, but also for control purposes. Cloud connectivity also is becoming the significant piece of the M2M, as well as the wireless and the cellular networks. The number of cellular networks connections worldwide used for the M2M communication are growing rapidly at almost 30% growth rate. The fastest growing M2M segment will be the consumer, followed by the health and other applications. The expansion of IP networks across the world has made faster M2M communication, and the amount of power and time necessary for information to be communicated has reduced drastically. These networks also allow an array of new business opportunities and connections between the consumers, the manufacturers. Okay, you want to invite?
I would like to invite Mr. Sachin from Machine Pulse. The CEO is not able to make it today, but Mr. Sachin? Yeah. Please. Yeah, please continue.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Sachin, please. The major applications are also in the utility smart meters, especially to update the digital billboards, the oil and gas industry, agriculture, military, government, as I said, smart cities, manufacturing and public, and so on, and especially with the emerging 3G and 4G cellular backhauls. Secure communication networks in difficult and remote locations, new vehicle entertainment, a large user of M2M, and the secure Wi-Fi hotspots will allow a lot of M2M communication to happen. One of the key applications will also be in the health, where Dr. Ganpati will give us a keynote presentation. And an example of the this kind of the telemedicine and telemonitoring would be a wristwatch kind of device, which will wirelessly communicate the body parameters, the motion and the location on the cloud, and then finally into a alert healthcare system. On the standardization part, there are globally many efforts going on the M2M. We have seen the Open Communication Protocols group, the tools, frameworks, common service layer, security aspects, the equipment usage, and even the white space phenomena for M2M is coming up. The reliable messaging transport protocol is also an important aspect. All these also lead to many challenges on the manufacturing end, especially in the context of Make in India. We need to understand the complexities. From the department, we have posted a white paper on the website which will focus mainly to create an IoT industry in the country, and India is expected to have about 5 to 6% of the total IoT industry share. Approximation is $15 billion for India by 2020. And other things the policy outlines is on the capacity development, to undertake research and development in this area, to develop indigenous products on the IoT. So with this preamble, I will request the keynote speaker to start his presentation on the health aspects of IoT.
Good morning, everybody. At the outset, I wish to thank the organizers for inviting me. Though this is a session on opportunities and challenges, I'm going to put forth to you the hypothesis that there's no question of opportunities and challenges unless you are healthy and the people in the smart cities, the smart towns, the smart villages are healthy.
Sorry, I failed to do my duty on giving a background of your profile.
I think it's okay.
No, I will just read out. It's a very wonderful thing that Dr. Ganapathy, who is the former secretary and past president of the Neurological Society of India, former secretary of the Asian or Australasian Society of Neurological Survey, an adjunct professor at the IIT Madras, Tamil Nadu Medical University and Anna University. Dr. Ganapathy was formerly honorary consultant and advisory in neurosurgery, armed forces, medical services, a pioneer in introducing telemedicine in India. Dr. Ganapathy has been working relentlessly for the last 16 years for the growth and development of telemedicine in India. A member of the National Task Force on Telemedicine, Dr. Ganapathy is a co-founder of the Telemedicine Society of India. Dr. Ganapathy.
Thank you. I have been given 600 seconds, which I really think is too short a time, to impress upon you that there is no M2M. There is no machine-to-machine, Internet of Things, etc., unless both the giver and the receiver are mentally and physically healthy. I am very sad, I am frustrated to note that in this two-day conference, I probably am the only medical doctor, and I notice that health is 6-size font somewhere down, somewhere there. We obviously come under the category of others. We do not deserve to be a section by itself. Having said that, I hope to tell you in the next 600 seconds how, unless you ensure, unless you realize that health care should be in the main agenda of your smart cities or whatever smart you are doing, I am afraid it is not going to succeed. And let us see why, how this is going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is going to change. The world is already changing. I belong to the BC era. Before computers and before Christ are one and the same. I was the last neurosurgeon in India who was trained to make a diagnosis by listening to a patient, by touching the patient, and several years later the CT scan came. Today, as I will show you, I am jobless, and I am glad that I am not in active practice, because I am afraid that you, the technologists, you, the engineers, are going with sensors everywhere. You are going to make me jobless. And let's see what are the implications of this. Why should you go to a hospital to get health care? This concept is obsolete, it's Jurassic Park. And I predict that in 10 years from now, hospitals will only do liver transplants, heart transplants, and bone marrow transplants. The hospital will come to where you are. You will have a laboratory in your pocket. You will have a doctor in your pocket. You will have access to every bit of information which took me 40 years as a neurosurgeon to acquire. My grandson today knows as much about neurosurgery as I know, because he has access to this. Hospital is a last stop, not the first stop. A corporate dividend declaring for-profit hospital like the Apollo Hospital, where I have been associated for the last 3 decades, has realized that keeping people healthy is the new mantra, and it's a business, ROI. It makes more business, you will declare more dividends by preventing a person from having open heart surgery, which he could have avoided in the first place. This can be possible only with M2M. This can be possible only with machine to machine, and let us see how this happens. Riding the ICT wave. We are talking of personalized medicine. How silly it is to send a urine for culture and sensitivity. After all, my genome is quite different from your genome. And in the couple of years, Apollo Hospitals has just started what is called a personalized master health checkup, and very soon genomic studies will be a part and parcel of your master health checkup. So all these involves engineering, technology and M2M. Now, for the purposes of definition so far as healthcare is concerned, let me be very clear in my mind. What do I mean by M2M? Where a device, the device can be a surface device, can be an implanted sensor, captures an event. The event can be a blood pressure, blood sugar, pulse rate, electrocardiogram, electroencephalogram, etc., which is relayed through a network. When I was introduced to ICT 15 years ago, I learnt about LAN and WAN. Today we talk about BAN, body area network. And this is what is going to happen, and this is an application that translates the captured event. I am worried that people like you are building sensors by the thousands and you are flooding us with information. As a medical doctor, I do not want to know the blood pressure of every patient every second. Certainly, if you take my blood pressure 5,000 times a day, my blood pressure will go up to 200, 240. I detest, I'm scared that an automated machine will notice the 200, a red flag will come and automatically send an impulse. An insulin pump is already implanted in the body. The blood sugar is 350. 5 units of insulin are released without the patient even knowing that his blood sugar went up. I belong to the BC era. Without intervention at all, that blood sugar would have come down automatically. You are going to create more problems, iatrogenic problems, doctor-induced problems, technology-introduced problems. Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, it is clinical wisdom. It is the man behind the machine that counts, not the machine. Lars Lexell, the inventor of the Gamma knife, which at that time was the world's most sophisticated machine, said, I quote, "A fool with a tool is still a fool." Whatever be your automated level of analysis, every ECG, PQRST waves, ST segment elevation, for God's sake, don't go send him for a stenting or for a coronary bypass surgery. Do not treat a laboratory investigation. Do not treat a shadow, because you are becoming more and more and more sophisticated. If I do an MRI for myself, I'm absolutely certain I'll have at least 10 different abnormalities. I certainly don't want my brain to be open because the MRI shows an image. So this is the downside. Let us not lose track. At the end of the day, M2M, whatever it is, smart meter, smart energy saving, at the end of the day, it has to have an application. And so far as healthcare is concerned, it is totally different from what you do on the other side. Today, you are all familiar with statistics. I don't have to talk to a converted audience like you. You know much more about all this than me. In 1960, there was one single mainframe computer in Pune. Today, I think the obsolescence rate is so much. Yesterday's, my grandson knows as much about Google Nexus 6, which I certainly have not even heard about. This is the new generation, and all this is self-explanatory. You can see how ultrasound of the future. You don't require an ultrasound technologist. You don't require a technician to do it. Sorry, technology is letting me down now, I think. Ah, good, great. I think somebody sabotaged. Sorry, can I have the 4th slide? So this is a classic example. If I were a younger doctor, I would not have been able to proceed at all, because I depend entirely on technology. The previous one, please. Yeah, okay. So here you can see how the patient is doing an ultrasound himself. I love that American phrase called DIY, do it yourself. And this is what M2M is going to happen. Doctors will become obsolete, nurses will become obsolete. Why? When the government asks me to print my own train ticket, print my own air ticket, it is years since I went to a bank. I do everything. I am asked to take the printout, everything. Why should a nurse take your blood pressure? Why should a technician examine your blood sugar? Why should a technician examine your serum cholesterol? Why can't you do it yourself? Today we have the technology to do it, and as you will see, this is what is going to happen. Now, I am just taking 2 slides. I want to place on record the wonderful work with Sushil Kumar and others who have, I thought was absolutely fantastic. We always think that the government is something living in the Jurassic Park and the private industry are the ones which are leading. But over the last 3 months, I have learned really nicely that the government is doing fantastic things. They've been having at least twice a month an audio conference. They have formed a committee on M2M in healthcare alone. Unfortunately, I have not been able to join all of them. But then this is based on the recommendations of that. You can see what are the challenges in M2M adoption in healthcare in India. At the end of the day, a solution is not a solution unless it is universally available. India has centers of excellence. We have 7% of patients coming to the corporate hospitals in India are from overseas. Last year we had 125,000 patients who came to India. American men have undergone cardiac transplants and liver transplants, but 750 million Indians have no access whatsoever to specialist care. They have to walk 50 kilometers, some of them, to get even secondary care. And this is where you come in. This is where M2M technology can come. It can bridge the urban-rural health divide. Now, these are some of the use cases which were, after several discussions, you can see remote drug delivery, remote robotic surgery. Unfortunately, 500 seconds is not enough for the total this thing. I'm not going through this. This is your strength. You are the people who do wonderful work on this. You ensure that one machine talks to the other machine. You ensure that a blood sugar reading in Chennai is the same in Houston, is the same in Delhi, interoperable standards, etc. Whatever is applicable for a smart metering, whether it be a water meter or whether it be an electricity meter, is equally relevant in the field of healthcare. I want to spend 2-3 minutes on this slide. This is a borrowed slide. I don't have the intelligence to make such a fantastic slide. Now, this is where we are today. Peak of inflated expectations. I, as a senior citizen, probably I'm the senior most citizen here. As a senior citizen, I have gone through this cycle. When I introduced telemedicine in 1999, it took 15 years. Telemedicine was a dirty word. It was only last year, 2 years ago, that people are slowly realizing that remote healthcare has a role in India. So right now, all of us are in the stage of excitement, you know, the passion. We think M2M, fantastic. I mean, it's terrific to see all these things, etc. So we are now in the stage of inflated expectations. We think the world is smart city, the world is smart, smart, smart. We forget that for thousands of years, our forefathers lived without any of this. My father lived till he was 95. He was leading an excellent quality of life. He didn't have access to any of these things. So let us be very balanced. We are highly educated people. We are the cream of society. So let us take a balanced view and not become a slave to technology. Technology in search of an application is doomed for failure. It is I, the end user, who must come to you and tell, sir, I want to measure this product, can you please help me? And you design the product. Today, I'm sorry to be brutal about this, diplomacy was never my forte. Today, multinational companies market a product and then go to the find out an application and then see how you can use it. This should not be done at all. And then after a few years, we'll have the slope of enlightenment. And finally, 5 years from now, I hope I will still be there to take part in these meetings. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we will have a balanced view. Of course, you must have this. Unless you have this innovation, if you are satisfied, content and happy now, M2M will never ever progress. But please remember, this is what is to be done. Now again, look at this. Look at this healthcare, infotainment. So we all talk about smart watches, but ultimately the bubble, healthcare and medical. One industry which is recession proof is the healthcare industry. I can live without entertainment. If I don't have a car, I will walk to where I want. If the air conditioning fails, it doesn't matter. I take out my kerchief and I sweat it out. But ladies and gentlemen, before you are born, the moment a woman knows she is pregnant, she has to go to healthcare for amniocentesis, for prenatal studies, for ultrasound. After you are dead and you leave this world, your spermatozoa which is stored can still be used to father a child. Imagine the father having died several years ago. Stem cells can be used to save your unborn great-great-grandson. So one industry which you have got to exist, which will ever exist so long as humankind exists, is the healthcare industry. The same thing in M2M. Whatever be your entertainment and infotainment, this is the bubble. You can see industrial, military, fitness, wellness, etc., etc. And of course,
are over.
oh, okay,
So if
sorry.
we can now-
Give me 50 seconds more.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Yeah. Next.
Can we take the questions after his presentation?
Yeah, okay. So this is what I said about all this is available in India, like your glucometer. Today we have cholesterol, triglycerides, all this can be measured in India. All this is commercially available. Excellent quality. You can peer in the interior of the stomach with just a capsule, which you are able to do. And believe this, electronic noses can sniff out cancer. This is from Bill Gates Foundation. A phone so smart, it sniffs out disease. All this is now being implemented. A smartphone to diagnose HIV and syphilis. And here you can see data produced by wearable devices, etc., etc. And look at this, carcinoma breast, cancer breast. You have a bra which has got sensors, and the bra can measure the temperature. And based on this, you have a program, and in your software, you will be able to find out whether the temperature inside is slightly more and whether this woman has to undergo a mammogram or not. And just look at this, road traffic accidents. These are the things which are relevant to India. Every 4 minutes, somewhere in India, a person dies of a road traffic head injury because he was not wearing a helmet. This is absolutely fantastic. Today, helmets have got these sensors inside, and the helmet tells you audio and visual, tells a cyclist or the motorcyclist that a car is coming here, etc. and warns you. For lack of time, I am not going into the details. The same thing here, you can see a cyclist. The windscreen of your car is what the modern cars released just 3 months ago. It's already commercially available. All these messages are going to pop up in the windscreen of your car, and collisions, road traffic collisions are significantly going to come down if you have all this technology available tomorrow. Google Glass, I noticed a gentleman in front wearing a Google Glass, and all the medical records tomorrow will be seen in Google Glass. So ladies and gentlemen, what is my take-home message? My take-home message is a little philosophical note. I don't think you are the audience to talk about technology, you know much more, but I'm not putting a brake, certainly not a brake. But please remember, if your accelerator goes down, 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 down like this, it's going to get a crash. Obstacles are the frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal. I think even at this point of time, when M2M is still hypothetical, it has still not become absolutely translated. We need to have a clear idea of why do we need. Somebody asked this morning, they asked the question, are we ready? The answer, sir, is I personally think that we should not wait till we are ready. We will never ever take off if we wait till we are ready. You cannot learn swimming by a postal course. You got to get into the water, and only then you can learn swimming. But at the same time, nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. Nothing is impossible. Timing is everything, and I think the time is just right, and I'm absolutely thrilled to so many people here, but very frustrated, very unhappy that healthcare has been relegated to other sick-size fart. Thank you so much.
Dr. Ganpati, thank you for your very interesting presentation, and let me assure you, as I said in my opening remarks, that health sector is one of the most important sectors in the M2M applications. So we will keep this on priority, and moreover your body area network and coming down to the Google classes, this is how the cycle is ending at the M2M, and we are very happy that the audience has enjoyed the presentation. Your questions can be taken at the end of the panel discussion, or if somebody can't wait, he can raise one question. Is there anybody who wants to raise one? No. I think we'll move on to the second panelist here on my right, Mr. Sachin Pokale. The one who could not come was Mr. Jain. Yeah, the CEO could not come, so he is the lead business development manager, and he has got a large experience of product design and engineering of complex embedded system, technology consulting, business development. He has worked with defense divisions earlier in Tata Power and L&T, and also significantly contributed in indigenous strategic projects. He started a non-profit group for IoT enthusiasts in Mumbai called IoT Mumbai, IoT MUM, to share knowledge and collaborate with like-minded people. Mr. Sachin has done graduate studies from SP College of Engineering, Mumbai in electronics. He is basically a Mumbaite. So I welcome you for your short presentation, or rather a panel speech on the topic relevant to the M2M. I'll request you to start.
Yeah, Yeah, thank you. I would like to make it very general kind of a talk because here we are talking very specific to like IoT itself is a vast topic. So how do we actually get the returns? Now the topic here is what are the opportunities and the challenges? And when we talk about the opportunities, we really need to look as a company where the money is going to come from. Healthcare is biggest sector when we talk about the money which is spent, like US is facing a lot of problems. So they see a lot of opportunities going forward. But when we talk about India, the Prime Minister is talking about manufacturing and the connected, basically digital India and the manufacturing as a powerhouse going ahead. So where we are playing a big role in IoT or M2M space is the manufacturing. I represent a company, Machine Pulse, which is a startup in Mumbai. We develop solutions for industrial IoT segments, particularly renewable energy space. The renewable energy is already, available in a vast, and we are still dependent on the coal and the natural gas, which are not going to last longer. So people are putting a lot of focus, and the Prime Minister is putting focus on renewable energy, where he has announced like 150 gigawatt of targets by 2020. So how do we make this new development that is happening are not done in the similar way, the way it has been done in last 10, 15 years. And that's where we're trying to bring the value, how we can actually put the M2M and IoT into the DNA of this renewable energy and can actually enhance the performances and basically the returns, the companies, the investment that they're doing, and how they can actually make the returns what has been assured for. So we are actually working in the space of renewable energy. And we see a lot of opportunities going forward. As a company, when we talk about the opportunities, people look at the developing a small device and collecting the data. But the real value lies in how you can capitalize on this data. Whether you bundle it and so sell as a data as a solution, or you develop the solution right from the ground up and you create a vertical solution for the end customer, so he's happy. But when we talk about IoT, interoperability and the other aspects are very critical going forward. So we are looking into those aspects, and we can talk about it on a separate forum. If you have any questions, you can ask. Besides this, very critical thing is how do you develop the solution for the India-specific market? When we started approaching this renewable energy space, and particularly the energy space, what we realize is India is a market where people want a solution, but probably free of cost when they want to go with the latest advanced technologies, because they don't really understand the technology aspect. And when we try to sell them something, they think about it's a marketing gimmicks that we are trying to do. But it's very difficult to actually explain to the customers how do they calculate the real gains from the IoT. Today morning, one of the speaker, I think Mr. Sharma, talked about $19 trillion opportunity globally. But is it really tangible $19 trillion opportunity which is talked about? Or it is just a big number which is thrown by one of the giant just to have the marketing attention or like a pull factor in the industry to create? So when we are talking about IoT and M2M, we have to be very realistic, and we have to be talking about the numbers. Those are really achievable when we talk. And in India, the specific challenge is the cost and the scale. As India is a very vast country, so we'll have different set of challenges in every part of the country and different mindset to going forward. Besides this, the infrastructure is not ready right now. When we talk about the 3G or 2G connectivity, it is available, but it is so intermittent that even you don't get the connectivity in the urban areas. Forget about the rural areas. Good that the government is putting a lot of efforts and going broadband and taking to every gram panchayat where 250,000 villages have been talked about. So we have a brighter future, but we have to give a thought about it, how we are going to take this forward. And so how we are going to take this forward and get it integrated into the whole ecosystems. Thank you.
You have given your view on the renewable energy space, on what your company is working. And you've given a good suggestion that the cost should be reduced to a large extent, and that the government is trying to reach the connectivity to the 2.5 lakhs gram panchayat. So your solutions will be extremely useful, reaching up to the power, up to the last mile. So, and I will now request the next panelist from Vodafone to even talk about how the connectivity issue, what Sachin has raised, regarding the poor connectivity, but I'm sure Vodafone, from their perspective, will tell us how they are moving into the 4G as well shortly, and also some of the operators have already launched the 4G. So I'll request Mr. Kishore to come forward. Acha, Sachin. No, Sachin ho gaya, ye ulta ho gaya. So Rajneesh, we should have done our homework and met before the session, but we couldn't do that. So Mr. Rajneesh Mittal, he is the head in mobility and value-added services from the Vodafone. He is a senior telecom and IT practitioner with more than 15 years of hands-on extensive experience on various wireline and wireless technologies across various domains like subscriber data management, SDP, what does it stand for? Service delivery platform, complex connectivity products, cloud service enablement, M2M, which is the focus of today's session, the unified communication, value-added services, next generation intelligent systems, policy, and so on. He is an expert on the telecom sector and has a portfolio development across multiple domains, as I stated in my brief account of Mr. Mittal. If you can give for 5 minutes the plans of Vodafone. You have a stall here, and I have seen that you are attacking all the sectors of M2M.
And attractive also.
Attractive also. So thanks a lot, Mr. Babeja, and I would for sure restrict myself to 5 minutes. We all know what sort of opportunities machine to machine brings to the table. I was just going through a World Bank study where they were saying every 10% increase in mobile penetration actually leads to 1% increase in per capita GDP. That's tremendous. Now, we are talking about per capita. Now, just imagine if M2M seeps into this ecosystem, what sort of GDP increase we are talking about, sitting in India, right? When we're talking about all the billions of devices that we are going to connect. So, needless to say, Dr. Ganpati has covered, Sachin has covered. The opportunities are immense. You take whatever field. There have been certain development goals of United Nations. It is not just for the creme de la creme of the society, but also for basic amenities that we require in our society, namely potable water, for example, sanitation, medical diagnosis, treatment, waste management, all those things which are very, very essential for us. Machine to machine can enable all this for us. And why machine to machine? In very simple words, what it enables huge operating efficiencies. It enables automation of the task. It gives us the freedom to get away from the drudgery of the repetitive tasks. The people who are taking, for example, manual meter readings for ages, all of us can move towards these automation technologies and probably get to a better lifestyle for all of us in India. Let me just quickly now take turn to go towards the challenges part of it. What sort of challenges M2M throws to us? To understand the challenges, let's look at what is the M2M ecosystem looking like. In a typical M2M ecosystem, you have devices or the sensors which are actually trying to gather the data for various, it can be healthcare or whatever vertical it is. It goes through a typical telecom network. It can include a personal area network. It could include a WAN or a LAN or what sort of access technologies can be there. Then it goes through the telecom network. It goes to the WAN network. Then it goes to the service provider network. It goes to the application service providers who actually handle the data, who analyze the data, and probably take some actions on it. So there are a whole lot of ecosystem partners who are working on this M2M play, which essentially leads to the problems that we are facing today, where all of us are working in silos, be it the telecom operators, be it the hardware device manufacturers, be it the application vendors, which is leading us to all sort of problems of standardization or interoperabilities, as we call them. So at TSDSI, for example, that's what we are trying to do. In one M2M, that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to standardize all of this so that we are able to work in an ecosystem where you buy a device off the shelf from a shop, like the way you buy a cell phone today, and just plug it in and start working. There is a backend application. Another vendor can bring that application to the fore, and all of these things seamlessly work. That's when we will start to leverage the economies of scale in machine to machine. That's when we will start to break the silos of individual players who are prevalent in the M2M space. There are one more challenge which I'll touch upon and then I'll close is, there are various verticals in machine to machine. There is healthcare, there is automotive, there is education. A whole lot of verticals are there, right? if you talk about, let's say, just the telecom, as a telecom operator, what we do, we do telecom only, right? If as a telecom operator, if I have to go towards machine-to-machine applications, I have to understand all these fields. I have to understand, what Dr. Ganpati does. I have to understand, what Mahindra & Mahindra does in automotive, what Maruti Suzuki does. Because unless I understand those applications, it is very difficult for me to go to our customers and have meaningful conversations on what M2M can do for them, right? It's already a challenge to have these sort of things going in the market. On the top of it, we need to have this complete ecosystem where all of us, as salespeople, as technology developers, we understand all of this, not just our telecom part, not just software part, but also the hardwares, the whole ecosystem. And that's where another challenge is in terms of the skill sets of the people that we need to go to talk to our customers to develop these solutions, meaningful solutions. I think that's pretty much a couple of challenges that I would like to highlight.
Thank you, Rajneesh Mittal, for a very interesting discussion on the ecosystem of the mobile connectivity and the various applications can be done through the mobile network, which is one of the chains of the IoT and the M2M. Definitely the challenge of network is there, and with the upgradation of the mobile networks, the M2M can see the reality as well. So now we come to an end of the panel discussion and the Q&A session will start. I'm in a hurry because 1 o'clock I am looking at the watch. So I think I will give the opportunity. I'll reopen the session with the last speaker on the right of way. He changed the sequence, so I got a little bit worried on that. And here you are. You please open the page and let me go through that. I'm not carrying a smartphone, so maybe I should have done next time. Mr. Kishore, who's heading the principal design and mentor architect for Narnex Technolabs Private Limited. He has 36 years of experience in various, one of the senior most amongst us. After a brief stint in design, industry and academics, Kishore started Narnex in 1981 to act as the technology interface for the industry, business and society. Narnex is one of the pioneer independent design houses in India, engaged in design and technology consultancy, providing complete design and development support to electronics products and system manufacturing, as well as solution deploying organization. Mr. Kishore has been supporting some of the leading business houses in developing latest products, systems, solutions in the field of IoT, and I have taken 2 minutes of your CV, so now I'll give you 3 minutes only.
No, I would like to impose upon some time of my esteemed colleague who could not present himself, Reji Pillai. So I'll be taking 2 minutes to cover his power sector also, which I'll not deduct from my time slot. And anyway, back to 5 or whatever. I think the theme of this session had 3 questions. Why, opportunities and challenges. I'll address it why, then challenges, then opportunities. Okay, why? Why do we need M2M? Do we really need it or IoT? Because technology per se or the new paradigm, this has been more, initially starts with the aspirational value. Okay, when a smartphone or the mobile phone came, it started with an aspirational value, luxury, status symbol, but over a period of time, they become a necessary part of this thing. So it brings us back to another aspect of the way we look at technologies, profound technologies. So what are the way I look at it, it is one of the most profound technologies. And if you go back in the history of technologies, what is one of the first most profound technology anybody can talk about? I think the invention of electricity itself. Because profound technologies are those which basically take us over in such a way that we start taking them for granted. They weave themselves into our day-to-day life that we do not question their existence, their being of this thing. Can we imagine ourselves without electricity? The second one was like communication. Then we had, a whole lot of this television, mobile, everything. Then we had internet. And now I think, internet of everything. We are now all encompassing. We are including every aspect of life, be it machines, be it human being or whatever. So we need to be very cautious on how do we leverage this technology? We should not become slaves of the technology. We should use them to make our life comfortable, smart, and secure also along with that. So there comes the issue of those security, privacy, trust, and all those things. So, but yes, technologies are here to stay and grow and evolve, and we are here to leverage them. I think that answers the why part. Now the challenges. See, M2M is not new. It's not even very too little old. It's very old. M2M has been basically here for last 30 to 40 years. We talk about any industrial automation solutions which have been evolving, whether through those dial-up modems or through dedicated lines. We have been having M2M solutions. But M2M was all about very homogeneous, application specific, based on maybe whatever proprietary protocol to deliver some limited solution or answers or the deliverables to the individual stakeholder, may it be an individual, maybe an organization, okay, or a government. But IoT brings it to a different level. This is a new avatar of M2M, and what it is all about, it is just about heterogeneous devices which are aware about their surroundings and all that, communicating with each other in a homogeneous way to make our life simple and better. I think this was a definition, or maybe it's a combination of few definitions which I read over this thing, which somehow appeals to me more of this thing. But now with the heterogeneity and the homogeneity expectation out of this brings us the real challenges. Because, but what, the way people look at it, there are three ways of people look at it, IoT. Some people look at it as like smart home, smart building, smart health, smart, everything smart. Okay, it's a paradigm, it's a glossy and vague picture. But what it does it? Another school of followers of IoT, they look at it like, okay, I have a mobile, like all the service provider would love that particular paradigm. They would love to have 100% share instead of 30%. Is that I saw a picture where you have a SIM and it's on the world. The world on the SIM. If you have a SIM, mobile you have in hand, you control everything, monitor everything, you have everything at your this thing. Third is one box approach. Wherever you are, put a one box, and through that you go to internet. Whichever approach, whichever category of the follower of the IoT paradigm you may belong to, the basic approach, basic thing is, it is still needs whole different layers of the solution technologies that we need to have mastery on the grip on that. So that's where the diversity comes in. And the diversity is basically not only in the applications, diversity is in the technologies. So what we need is a cross-domain expertise within the field of electronics, firmware, hardware solution, and the business models. And the way they were saying, telecom service providers, ARPU, they are not looking at it. Why? They have to reinvent themselves. Because IoTs will only work with the right kind of business model. Tomorrow, you alone, you may produce a product, you will not be a successful entrepreneur in the, you can say, organization in IoT ecosystem if you work in a silo mode as an organization. We need to work in a consortia kind of a mode. Okay, someone is making products, someone is making this particular layer of the whole thing, networking, communication module, someone is making common service layer, gateways or some cloud this thing, someone is working on the big data, someone is working on the app, someone is providing a pipe. So unless we form those right kind of alliances, I think the challenges will always continue to. So the business models, evolving the right mature business models based on interoperable open standards. Now this is where we open up the Pandora box. Okay, and this is one of my favorite topics. But people think that the moment we bring it to IP or to internet, my problem is solved. Absolutely not. It is just the beginning of it. Because beyond the IP layer, it is just a middle layer. We have the apps where the user interfaces with them, connects with your application, your use case, your problem, and the sensors and devices when they go to the internet, till that last mile communication. Unless we have the unified and homogeneous way of networking these devices, bringing them into a homogeneous mode, I think IoT will not really proliferate the way people are looking. Numbers are just numbers. Okay, and it is not important to look at numbers. What we need to look at is that can each smart node talk to another smart node in another smart network? If it cannot, without going to the application layer, going through the whole chain of everything and disturbing by a food chain or whatever, this thing, because the overheads of going to the application layer and then coming back and talking to each other, a smart node which is sitting right in that room, is not funny. I think as technologists you might understand. And the last parting note that I'll talk about is, we are talking about numbers, trillions, billions of dollars. Tell me one thing, what are we? Are we simply a bunch of opportunists? If you are a bunch of opportunists, I think this is not your game. Just move on. This will not give you the result that you're looking at. If you're hardcore technologists and you want to pursue technology for the sake of technology, I think money will follow, billions and trillions. And most of the inventions, most of this money, this thing generating initiatives that you see of any this thing did not start with money-making opportunity. They started with, because the founder of that organization saw some value in that particular thing. He felt like doing something in this domain, in that particular thing, solve a particular problem. So let's start identifying problems that we feel close to and start trying to solve the problem. I think money will follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Narang Kishorji. You have kept to your commitment of 300 seconds. And so I didn't tap you in between. But let me tell you that all the panelists, they have contributed tremendously to the discussion, and the audience is waiting to ask the questions. And after that, I will wind up with some policy directions and some government directions that I can give on. So let me start with the Q&A for the audience to start the questions.
I have a question for Dr. Ganpati. Humans are basically machines with ultimate intelligence. There are enough sensors inside the body. When you have something abnormal in the body, temperature rises, or there may be any abnormality can come up in the body, there may be any growth. So by emphasizing on M2M, we are just talking about the external machines which can be put up or put inside or outside on the surface of the body, and we can take the parameter. I think people who are educated enough, they can be taught what are the symptoms. If these symptoms come, then you can go to the doctor and can consult, and this may be the case this may be the disease, rather than imposing M2M devices on all the humans. And I have seen that machines have limitations. I have seen in my surroundings that ECG and this ECG was normal, and other things were normal, but the patient was having some disease. So machines have limitations. So we should put our efforts in research based on understanding the body to a large extent. Then I think M2M and these things will have limited role.
Can I request your name and organization as well to be on?
I am Rajiv Tyagi from Telecom Engineering Center. I am director there.
Thank you very much for endorsing exactly what I said. And this is one area. Please, please, please remember that healthcare is not buying a pizza on a phone. I challenge anybody in this audience. If you get the world's most sophisticated M2M machine, tells you, recommends based on a 24-hour analysis, 60 seconds a minute for the last 10 days that you need a stenting or you need a bypass surgery, and it says go ahead and book your appointment, how many of us will be willing to do it? Don't you want to talk to a human being? Don't you want to talk to the cardiologist and then decide whether stenting is required or not? We are in a stage of transition. Maybe 150 years from now it will change. But certainly people like us who are what I call pre-M2M era, we are going to have lots and lots of challenges. So that is why when you talk about opportunities and challenges, my plea, entreaty to all the technologists, the engineers, the policy makers, everybody here, please involve the healthcare people. That is not happening at all. So far as M2M in healthcare is concerned, most sensors are devised by PhDs in sensor technology rather than having the appropriate application specialist by his side.
In this, I would like to add that we can do the teleconsultation through the M2M. So the human touch may not be there, but the presence of M2M will help in getting the.
Dr. Ganpati, let me assure you one thing, that doctors we are always going to need, and at a human interaction level, 150 years, 200 years later. Why? One thing which is conspicuous by its absence, even today's ecosystem of the so-called super specialty hospitals, we have specialists for everything. We do not have physicians anymore. And this is which is a major disconnect. Earlier, we used to have a physician who would just take the pulse and a few this thing and say, okay, these are the things which I can handle. These are the things beyond me, you need to refer to the specialist. Now, the moment you enter into a super specialty or any big hospital, you go and you are straight away referred to 10 different specialists. The moment you are admitted with a minor this thing, you will see 10 different specialists visiting you and charging to your final medical bill. And whether you need it or not, okay, you still have to this thing. Dietitian will come even if you have just broken a bone. Why do you need a dietitian to visit you? So I think physicians are the most important part of thing. I think if you can find some way to reinvent that breed, I think doctors will always remain relevant to the society.
So one more point, Dr. Kishorji and Dr. Ganpati, is it is not just about putting sensors on human bodies and getting the data across to some doctor or letting the machines automatically decide what to do. There are other use cases which like for example rural healthcare, where you don't have good doctors available there, so you can actually provide remote healthcare facilities to the rural people. Second use case is, let's say after the operations, after a surgical operation, when the patient is recovering, right, instead of he being in the hospital, he can actually be at home, being monitored for some of the vital stats, as we call it, and hospital can remotely monitor a patient, depending how he's recovering from the operation. And at the same time, this actually frees up, let's say, hospital beds for other patients, who want to be admitted. So there might be little the other side of the use cases as well.
Can I just half a minute respond to that?
Okay.
You're absolutely right, but please understand that a lot of behavioral modification is required. Absolutely. I have IAS officers, I have engineers, doctors, chartered accountants, the cream of the cream, who still want to be physically touched by a doctor, who don't want to get discharged. We tell the patient, get discharged, get discharged. They do not want to get discharged. This is the real world.
Okay, so now the second question from the audience, please. If there are no questions,
There is one.
disclose your name and organization.
My name is Shivraz Dagdi, and my question is to all of you. We have been talking about the challenges and opportunity as far as M2M and IoT is concerned. So the most challenge, what I can say, is security in the IoT and M2M, which has been, we have not talked about that. And I think I read somewhere that by the end of this year, there will be a cyber murder. And cyber murder means, when we talked about M2M and IoT, it means injecting, insulin through machines and like that. So machines is controlling your, the vaccines and like that. So cyber murder is mean that somebody is hacking your pacemaker and like that, and they can do anything they want to do. So what kind of, are we ready for that kind of security? Even as far as India is concerned, the cyber security is not so, protected, and we are most vulnerable country in the world. So I don't know, in M2M and IoT, how we are ready as far as security is concerned.
Yes, see, when you talk about cyber murders and all that, these are very realistic threats that we are looking at. Okay? And this is not to cyber murder, it's a whole kind of, tomorrow you are not going to need any weapons, nuclear bombs or missiles or anything. You just need a bunch of good hackers to bring down a nation. Bring down the electricity to the nation, bring down any particular critical infrastructure, and you are through with the nation. Okay, within the next 24 hours or next 5 hours, whatever. So this is a very real threat, and the ecosystem, the technologists are actually seriously working on it. And by the way, and it will be, for this what we need to look at. Let me clarify this to you. This is where every person who is part of this ecosystem plays a role. Is that end-to-end signal integrity and security. Each layer has to be secure. You cannot say that security is at the cloud level. If my communication network, within the communication network, when we talk about the OSI model, L1 to L7, each layer, is it secure? Has got its own security built in? Or am I relying on the next layer to take care of that? When I do a sensor, when I do a smart meter, people say, security will be taken care of by the, the communication guy. I don't need to do. Why? I need security engine right there within my meter, my each smart node also below the communication module. So it's end-to-end, each layer by layer. We need to have security built in. People are looking at it. But yes, we as ecosystem, you know what, in India we have an IT name of it, we have all software guys, WizKids. They are just building some apps, some building software solution, just application software, VB.NET and all that. No, where is the security layer? Are you looking at it? We need to look at it. It's a very serious problem and everybody has to. The mature people are looking at it. Amateurs need to grow up.
Mr. Kishore, yeah, okay.
We have time limitation, so can we take this up offline or? Okay.
Thank you for this. Thank you for this opportunity. See, there are two sets of challenges. One is the challenges which are at the country level, and the other is at the consumer level, let's say. So the consumer level challenges are totally different. Let's say you talked about the pacemaker has been giving you some notification that you have to get some insulation or something. Insulin dose which needs to be increased or something. There, I think these devices are normally helping you to prevent something. That doesn't mean that whatever they advise you, you need to take into account. So basically, these are like you have to have your consciousness present all the time. These are basically machines which are just advising to improve your lifestyle. It doesn't mean that they are allowed to take over your lifestyle. So I think what Dr. Ganpati talked about and the doctor's presence and the other things are still not relevant going ahead and needs to be taken care. I mean, however we go ahead, I mean, next 5 years and we try to include this technology into our lifestyle, we have to understand this technology is not to drive our lifestyle, but they're there to help our lifestyle. They're help to prevent the diseases or those going to occur to us. They're not going to like change the role of the doctor going forward. Talking about the challenges at the country level or the industry level, those are altogether different sets of challenges. And what my colleague said is really relevant. I mean, we just cannot push the ball about security in some other's court and say this is not my responsibility and some higher level or lower level needs to look after. But yes, at every OSI layer or probably the IoT reference architectures are going to come down the line. We have to look at those every layer, how we are going to implement the security. And besides this, I mean, finally, today we have Google Maps in our hand, so they are helping us to get navigated. But people were still traveling 10 years back when the maps were not there in hand. But today, if you take out the mobile and ask someone to go just 100 meters from here and find a place, people find it very difficult. So I think we have to keep our consciousness alive, even if we take the technology into our lifestyle and continue just taking the help from it and not let them take over our lifestyle. That's my point of view.
I think now we have to close the session. Any questions can be raised offline with the members. Let me just sort of give a thought on what government thinks on the M2M. As we have already ported the IoT draft policy on the website, I request all the audience and other esteemed experts to go over this policy. And maybe a specific kind of M2M policy approach can also be figured out. And for that, there are certain things I will outline what we have to do. So basically 4 aspects. One is the standards and interoperable and security issues. We should tackle them, number 1. Number 2 is the capacity building for improving the expertise and education on the M2M sector. Number 3, we need to encourage the R&D and promote the R&D and the indigenous manufacturing in this sector. And lastly, but not the least, I feel that we should have a unified forum on the M2M. There are a couple of, or maybe about a handful of 4 to 5 forums already existing on this sector. Maybe these can be unified along with the government in place, and we should ask this forum to also come out with the policy directions and the promotional avenues from this body. So if besides these points, anybody wants to add an agenda, we can take that up also.
I have an input for you, Mr. Baveja. The point is that DIT has come up with their own document, DOT is coming up with their own M2M roadmap. This somehow does not make sense in spite of being under the same ministry. If we do not have, tight coordination among these 2 departments of the same ministry, how do you expect the ecosystem, diverse ecosystem to work together? I think we need to start with an example from your side.
No, you're perfectly all right. In a population of 1.2 billion, each one has its own ideas. And if 2 departments are having, different aspects of M2M, they can be unified under the minister. We will take this up.
Any plans to converge?
Of course. Okay, let the TEC rep talk about.
DOT is framing the policy on machine-to-machine communication, and DATI is coming with IoT. And in the IoT, they are very much concerned about the manufacturing sector, not on the machine-to-machine communication. Communication is with the DOT, and DOT is framing policy only for machine-to-machine communication. अरे नहीं sir, that is for
okay.
manufacturing.
So Mr. Kishore, your question that we have to integrate, it will be integrated, under the same minister. We will do that effort.
But two are the different things.
Two are, right, the protocols and other networking issues, they are the specialists. And whereas on the manufacturing and promotion, we have the role to play.
And one more thing I would like to add, that one M2M has already released the document on security. There is a lot of discussion is going on in TSDSI, TEC and other
and DIT is member on these bodies.
On security issues. One M2M has already released the document on security also.
So now the question is that, yes, I think we end with a positive note that we give a big hand to the M2M session, and thank you very much.